It's one of those days today, running out of time. But guess what? I got contacted by DJI. What do you think happened? I'll explain it a bit later, but they did phone me. I did find some news about that Drone World Expo, and there was some interesting stuff. That lily that I talked about before, apparently they showcased it at the show, and as expected, as I mentioned before, I'm kind of surprised they bought the name brand, because I would assume most people associate that name brand in a very negative way. So you can see once they posted it on their Facebook, it seemed like the old backers who never got their refund started blasting the company. Again, it's going to be kind of incredible if they can actually get past that public perception of the company at this point. It seems like one of the big topics at Expo though were drone regulations, how I guess a lot of people think it's overwhelming. It says here, worker safety regulation overload among highlights of the Drone Expo in California. From the safety point of view, the drones were supposed to make things even more safe. They were talking about things, for example, setting up, I guess, cell towers, having to see what's wrong with them, and they're saying drones help a lot in that way, which is good. Like one of the example was if there's like a beehive or something like that, they can bring the drone up, I suppose, to check it out. It's kind of funny because people often complain drones sound like a swarm of bees when it's flying. But the rules and regulations, again, was one of the topics. It says, despite some consensus, followed by some decision making from Congress and the FAA on drone regulations over the past few years, just who is calling the shots when it comes to making drone laws and regulation is far from decided. And it says here, fellow panelists attempted to give a picture of state laws and regulations concerning drones, which are being hammered out from federal down to local levels. So basically it's kind of like all over the place. And yeah, even like here in Canada, I think a lot of these proposed regulations and even the interim laws, I think it's stifling creativity and encouraging the growth of the tech, in my opinion. I highly agree with this point too. It says, he said many laws already on the books of the state and local governments, such as nuances, ordinances, and laws governing acts of voyeurism that will cover most issues that are being created by drone operators. So it's the mentality of there's already a law that protects people from stuff like that. Why do you need another one, like specifically for drones? To me, it makes no sense. Again, it's basically just adding like an extra barrier that's not necessary, which it only affects the responsible flyers, in my opinion. I was then thinking maybe the coverage for that event wasn't as quick because there was another event here, the Ceatec 2017. I believe it's like in Japan, and they show all these high-tech robots and stuff. And look at this drone. Literally, it says, what is this? Kitty's arm-equipped drone, smart drone. Look how huge that is. And it literally has arms. Anyone dare to fly that? I know. In many ways, it seems like the tech's growing too fast. I mean, 8K monitors? I don't even think anyone has a 4K yet. Oh, the light's dying really fast. So with the DJI support, I got a phone call and the guy said he was from California, and he basically wanted to follow up at first and say, okay, he wanted to make sure that any of my questions were addressed, because it seemed like he was a little bit confused as well as to what exactly was going on with it. Essentially what he was asking at first was whether or not I got the invoice before, the discount one, and I said yes I did. And so he was just wondering, maybe he thought that was the issue. I didn't get the email, so he didn't know that's why the thing wasn't paid. Then I explained the whole situation about what's going on. How they said they would take care of it, for example. I sent it in, they didn't reveal the data and all that drama, plus that YouTube DJI support person or whatever. And once he heard it, this guy, he was like, oh my goodness, like in his tone of voice, like he had no clue like any of this is going on. He even told me like he's even looking in front of his computer. The only little note it tells him is customer has questions about the gimbal warranty. So afterwards, he was very apologetic and he was saying, okay, let me get back to you. Let me see what more I can do because you've obviously been through like a lot, for example. And I actually missed his call afterwards, but he gave me a voicemail saying he gave me a further discount. But unfortunately, he didn't give me the data. But he said to me, with this situation, he says, they're not going to fix it. It's going to be a pristine Mavic Pro. A pristine one, my interpretation is like a brand new one, a working one. He'll guarantee that it works and all that. He even said because of all this, he wants to ship it out like an air delivery for free, for example, to try to get it back to me. And afterwards, I guess they'll take it from there. Okay, it's dark now, as you can tell. So where was I with the DJI? So again, the guy that phoned me, he seemed really apologetic, really shocked about what happened. And from what I gather, from what a lot of people said, that's usually the reaction they get. And he said, essentially, they're not going to fix it. They're going to give me like a pristine one. So basically, from what I gathered from that word, that means brand new, not refurbished. I'm guessing it means, run straight from the factory or something like that to make sure everything is okay. And again, because of that, it seemed like he tried to see if he could do more. And he actually replied pretty fast. When I hung up on the phone, I missed his call, and he phoned like just a couple of minutes after, left me a message saying they sent me another invoice. Now, they didn't give it to me for free, but according to that, it looked like they gave about a 25% discount. And again, from what he said, they're gonna airmail it and everything. And I basically decided, okay, well, this will be a good test now. Because what I basically wanted, like for a big part of it, is a guarantee. Like, I don't know, maybe they gave me a first generation one that's really bad, correct? So they're giving me a brand new one with this guarantee. He even said he's gonna follow up and everything like that afterwards to make sure it's good. I think that's okay for me at this moment. So before I left earlier, I basically paid for the invoice for the time being really quickly, just within a couple of minutes when they sent me that invoice. So this will be a good test now for the next step to see whether or not they're going to follow through with getting me back the drone really quick, whether or not it is, for example, a pristine drone, whatever you want to call it, brand new, whatever. So we'll see how it goes from there. But I think it's pretty clear just from this whole experience. There's horrible communication internally in the company, and basically the people that suffer are the customers. If I think about it, if I really push for it continuously, I probably could say like, well, where's the data still? Because even he agreed if it's a fault with the software, for example, then it should be covered. But I guess for the time being, again, since they gave me the guarantee, they said it's gonna be a pristine one, they're gonna like airmail and all that, I guess that's a good compromise at the moment, because you know, there's not really much to show afterwards, again, in terms of how disorganized everything is. I don't get the data like to see what's wrong, but my assumption like there, I basically didn't do anything wrong. There's something wrong with the drone in general. But from what I see, even cost-wise, it's no difference from the refresh, for example. The cost is actually a little cheaper from what I gather, but again, for me, the important thing is the guarantee. So that's where we're at the moment. I paid for it really quickly. Let's see if they follow through and actually give me a really good one. Because who knows, maybe the first one I got, like I said, maybe they gave me a bad first generation one. So the way I see it too, like I said, I'm pretty understanding. And as long as, again, the one they send me is perfectly good and all that, at this point, I think it's semi-reasonable. I don't think it's perfect, but I'll leave that to DJI to show what they are willing to do afterwards, if anything. Because in my opinion, a customer shouldn't have to go through all this that I went through. When I get the box, I'll open it, like tape everything. I'll show you guys exactly what it is. I mean, if they send me a bad one, like what I read in the other people's experience, that's gonna be really horrible. Wacky experiences so far, huh guys? Again, I'm kind of curious if they're gonna actually do even more. I know if it was my company and someone went through something like that, man, for me it would be like, here you go, man, on the house. There's no way, like, you should have to go through that, but we'll see. And I guess one good thing about this whole situation is I was actually able to go back and look at some of the older drone footages, because there's a lot of them I actually never used or tried to edit them, for example, just to try to fix it up. And just seeing the flying from when I first began to what I do now, you can actually, for me anyways, I can see the minor improvement as I get better and better. Now let's find something to edit. All right, see you guys later.